kind of resumed that today, and he looks fine. I think if you were unaware that Matt Milano missed time at the end of last year with the injury, you'd probably not notice it, right? The way he moves around here today, and we'll see. It's 1 day of practice. Will he need some time off in between here to kind of come back? We'll see, but I think he looks fine. I really think he looks fine.
After being not an injury of the nature that he had, I had some knee injuries and some other stuff that I dealt with during my career. It's a really, I think this is probably kind of a little bit of an emotional roller coaster for Milano. He's got to really feel like, man, I hope this works. I hope I can go pain-free. Now, I don't know if this is the case or not, but Sean McDermott in his news conference today said some of these guys, they were all healthy. They were all on the field except for obviously like Jeremiah Searles, that kind of thing, and Tyler Croft. But he said some guys are on a pitch count. I would be interested to know if Matt Milano was one of the guys where they're kind of trying to keep an eye on him. Obviously, he had a broken lower leg, which ended his season last year, and he's been running on it for months now.
Yep.
And to have him come back and bounce back, get on the field, and start running around actually playing football like he did a year ago, there's probably a little bit of a apprehension as to how he feels, and he's probably feeling it out a little bit, making sure it's solid under him. He went through OTAs and did a lot of that stuff. I don't know that he's been excluded from anything once they started back in the organized team activities. But I was watching him, and he looked confident. He looked like it was not bothering him. But it'll be interesting to see if he's one of those guys that's on a pitch count. So
you're right, and it might take a day or two before we see if Matt Milano gets a day off or gets team snaps off. We'll find out. Milano's going into his third year. He was a starter and an effective player last year, but I do often find myself wondering, Steve, what their expectations, by they I mean the coaches and personnel people, what their expectations are for Matt Milano. They know him. They know what he did in college at Boston College. They know about his rookie year, and they know how he he made plays last year. He wasn't a consistent great playmaker, but he made enough to get your attention. And I just wonder, I know fans have a high expectation level for Matt Milano, but I'm not sure sometimes that I get that from the coaching staff or from the personnel people. You know what I mean? They know he's good. They're glad he's healthy. He is a starter, and they expect him to start and play well, but I don't know if they expect him to be at a Pro Bowl level. What do you think?
Yeah,
what's the ceiling for Milano?
It's an interesting question because he was a fifth-round draft pick, and you're a fifth-round draft pick for a reason.
He's 6 foot tall. That's
right.
Number one reason.
He's undersized. Certainly he has good instincts. We've seen that. He has a nose for the football. You think coming into a camp like this, and there's two sides of it. Yeah, he's a fifth round. They found him. He's a starter. He was playing really well, or as well, better than we thought he could last year before he got hurt. There were some people, and I went back and double checked, and there were people saying, "Man, Matt Milano's having kind of a Pro Bowl year. He's really playing well." And I was like, "Okay." So it was actually reported by people who had that opinion. So, and then you come into this year, and you got to think too that this is a team that's trying to get better. And even though he's an incumbent starter, and certainly it's going to take a lot for somebody to unseat him as a starter, he's got to play well. This is a defense that wants to take a step forward. Certainly they're depending on him. They're thinking there's no doubt they've got him penciled in, inked in as a starter. But once again, you get back to the thing, the reason he was there in the fifth round is because he's a little bit undersized. Now, certainly a playmaker, and he's had a broken leg. But you think you still don't know exactly what's under the hood.
Right. That's where I am. I don't know if I've seen the full extent of how Matt Milano might be able to help this defense. He made some big plays last year. There's no question about that. And I wonder, is there more where that came from? Is there even more from Matt Milano they could expect to get, or is that it? Did he, top out last year? Did he ceiling out?
You see him, scooping up. You see him scooping up fumbles that somebody else caused. You see him making interceptions that somebody else tipped. That kind of things. But he's always there. He's always there to pick it up. I think they're very happy with him in the run game and the other stuff that he has to do. Certainly we've seen him in the passing game drop back into coverage and defend passes and that stuff. It's interesting. This is his third training camp. His first year, he didn't start right away and then kind of worked his way in, right?
Yeah, right.
And then last year he was playing really well. It seemed to have taken that step forward before he was derailed by an unfortunate injury. So it is kind of interesting to think about Matt Milano because, let's face it, when he comes back and everybody said, well, if he's healthy, which, as we've said before, a broken bone is much better than a ligament damage,
Sure.
a torn ACL or something like that. Everybody's like, oh, he'll be back and he's going to be fine. Well, it'll be interesting to see whether that translates into another step forward for him or what we're going to get out of him. But certainly I think is a guy that you're still curious about because last year this defense finished up really well. He wasn't there for the whole year.
He got 13 starts last year, got hurt in the Jets game down near the goal line, and the year before, his rookie year, he got 5 starts. So, yeah, he's kind of a latecomer to the starting lineup, but I think an important player. And we had the spotlight. Steve and I had the spotlight on him today. We'll probably continue to shine the spotlight on Matt Milano as camp rolls along because see how he holds up. See if he is, as Steve said, one of those pitch count guys who doesn't get every snap. We also, as camp rolls along this year, we're going to name our standout of the day. And Steve and I don't necessarily have to agree on this, and we did not today. We had a couple of guys that each of us were watching, and you picked a cornerback as a standout. You picked E.J. Gaines as your
Gaines
standout
made the pick during camp, during 7-on-7s or 1-on-1s, or no, it was a team actually.
Yeah,
it was tipped,
teamwork.
It was a tipped interception.
Yeah.
The reason that he caught my eye was because that's exactly what he's going to have to do, I think, to stick on this roster. I think this at cornerback, we've talked about this throughout the show. You got Kevin Johnson, Taron Johnson, Levi Wallace, all opposite Tre'Davious White. There's a lot of ability over there. And E.J. Gaines is another guy on that list. That's going to be one of the spots, and we talked about this in the show too, Murph. There's going to be a handful of guys that's like, wow, I can't believe he didn't make the team. E.J. Gaines is going to have to catch some people's eye to bust back into the lineup that he was such a huge part of 2 years ago.
Yeah. E.J. Gaines was Steve's camp standout. I had a couple of receivers camp standouts for me today, and I thought they were outstanding, to be honest with you. Wide receivers and guys that we haven't seen a lot of, and at least Cole Beasley we didn't see a lot of during the spring. He looked as advertised. He was my one of my 2 standouts, Cole Beasley and John Brown. The 2 new wide receivers, the 2 free agents. Let me talk about them a little bit. Cole Beasley, it's funny, when we're just watching some of the drills, Steve, and you've ran these drills before, the wide receiver drills, where it's quick footwork and quick cuts and getting through, a couple of obstacles and getting to your cut as quick as you can. And there was a marked difference between the veterans like Cole Beasley and John Brown and some of the younger guys. And I made in my notes just smooth. Beasley and Brown were just smooth getting through their cuts, and they're nice, sharp cuts, and they can all do that. Some guys, it takes, 3 or 4 steps to get into the cut.
Right.
Beasley and John Brown are into it, like one cut, and they're into it. And that's a difference of experience. I think it's an athletic difference, right? There's a reason why John Brown and Cole Beasley have been in this league and excelled in this league in the past. And I saw it today. Those 2, I'm not telling you either one of them is going to catch 75 passes, but in practice today, they were standouts to me, Beasley and Brown. The head of the class when it came to the receivers today, I thought.
You could
by
tell,
a wide margin.
And for me, and we were sitting there talking about it, and I was kind of walking you through what I remember about doing those drills and what I looked for and what some of the older guys just get it, and when you've got a young receiver who comes in and they're all fast, all these guys have got some speed and some wheels, and they come in and they start to plant their feet to come out of a break, and it takes them, and if you watch it slow on film, which I've done a bunch over the course of my career, you watch them, and that first step where they're not going forward but they're trying to stop, and you count how many footfalls
Does it
there
take
is
to stop?
to stop. And usually the young guys, it takes about 5 steps. It takes that 1, 2, 3, and then real small steps. Pros take 3. You take 1, and then the second time
Boom,
that
boom,
same
boom.
foot hits,
Yeah.
you're out. And that is the difference between a pro and a kid who doesn't know the technique. You got to drop your hips, and you can feel it too. During training camp, it always comes back. You start to get sore as a wide receiver in your lower legs and your calves and your ankles and your feet because there's so much pressure to stop so hard on those few steps. That's where the wear and tear comes, and that's where you feel it when you're off the field and all that. You're back in training camp when you've got those. Your lower leg muscles are really sore from trying to stop so hard.
Those 2 were at the top of the list, though, Beasley and Brown.
They had the techniques down.
Yep.
They were running the drills. They knew what they were supposed to look like, and you could tell. You could tell.
A couple of other receivers that, for some reason, you and I spent a lot of time and these were not necessarily standouts, but just noticing things. We're interested in Duke Williams, the Canadian import, the CFL veteran. And he made a good catch. We're watching. There's a ton of red zone work today. Duke Williams made a good catch in the end zone when he went up high and brought it down, got both feet down, and we both said, good. That's why Duke Williams is here. That's what they need from Duke Williams. But he wasn't consistent strong like that. I thought there were a couple other times when you're like, he was not one of those who made the good, sharp, quick cuts like Beasley and Brown. He just doesn't have that kind of foot speed, I guess. But I thought he's an interesting guy to watch. And as you try to project a role for him, you'll see him making plays maybe in the red zone using his size. What is he, 6'2"? And you'll also see some plays and you're like,
He's markedly the biggest guy out there,
Yeah.
at that position. Zay Jones also is tall like that. They've got – but we were watching him just, to see how he acclimated and how he did it. It was funny, too, because I know, he jumped off sides and down close one time, and Sean McDermott pointed. He had to run. He had to run to the other end of the field, touch the goalpost, and come back.
Yeah.
Missed a rep.
Because he jumped off sides.
Because he jumped off sides.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff, it all counts, no question. But I knew this, too, and I was telling you this. All the young guys, they all think, man, their career is made or broken by one play in the first practice of training camp, and it's just not the truth. I mean, it's a long, long trip these guys have to take yet, and we've got to watch and evaluate a lot of them just like the coaches will.
One more receiver I wanted to talk about, and again, a guy who was a little bit banged up during the spring workouts, didn't get a full complement of practices, and I didn't notice him much in the spring, but I noticed him today. Rookie, undrafted rookie free agent David Sills, West Virginia, free agent rookie, prominently mentioned and embedded, if you saw that, how eager they were to get him signed once the draft ended. And, look, he didn't light it up today by any means, but he stands out to me. We talked about Duke Williams' size. David Sills has length.
Yeah, he's
You know
long.
what I mean? He's long arms, long legs. Seemed to be running the right routes. Again, ton of red zone work today. They had like combination routes, a couple of receivers running combination routes in the red zone. And that would be, I would think, where a young guy might be confused, not be in the right place. He seemed to be in the right place. And with his long arms and legs, he seems like a guy who will have something to say about receiving.
Yeah, he caught the ball well.
Yeah.
He seemed to be slippery and seemed to be running confidently out there as well. And once again, he's a guy like Duke Williams, Zay Jones, one of those guys that's got a little more body to go up and get it in the red zone. We'll see. But he's intriguing as well. You got to know that one or two of those guys are going to be around. And it's going to be interesting to see which ones make it.
And I still feel like when you talk about Sills and Duke Williams, of the two we mentioned, we're talking about the last one or two roster spots at wide receiver.
Well, it's going to be, you got to think Cole Beasley, John Brown, Zay Jones, probably a lock.
Probably.
Andre Roberts, the return guy.
Probably.
Okay, there's five wideouts right
four.
there. There's four wideouts? Yes, four wideouts. Get my public math there.
And Foster.
Robert Foster, who, you know what, I got to tell you, I did not even lay eyes on him.
I was going to say. I watched him. I watched him. He didn't jump out to me. It was not a camp standout. But that's okay. Day one.
Yeah.
He jumped out at me when he's streaking down the field, 50 yards down the field last season. We'll see. We'll see how it works out.
Yeah, that is huge question marks there. Not only which guys they're going to keep, but what are they going to use them for? Are they going to go 4 wide? Are they going to go 3 wide, 2 wide? Are they going to go 5 wide? I mean, what I do know is this: at the current state of the NFL, they're going to have all that stuff in the game. They're going to have the ability to do that on a week-to-week basis whenever they want. And if they think they can get an edge with it, you can bet that they will. They will go 5
wide. A lot of 2 tight end formations today. You saw that.
Yeah, I saw some 2 and 3 tight end formations.
If you have a thought on anything we're talking about, give us a call. Phone lines open, 803-0550, toll-free, 1-888-550-2550. Going to hear from new starting center Mitch Morse at the bottom of this hour, and Chris Brown's going to join us in the 2 o'clock hours. We come to you live from training camp. People are going to say, how did Josh Allen look? Let's talk about all the quarterbacks, Steve. And we watched most of the practice today, you and I, watched the quarterback drill and the accuracy drill that they do. Used to be they try to throw the ball in the garbage can. Now they have these newfangled nets, one with 3 rectangle squares. One is just kind of a basket to catch a ball in for like fade passes in the end zone. And what was the third? There was a third, just one square.
Yeah.
And we watched that closely, you and I. And because for a couple of reasons. There are accuracy issues, questions about Josh Allen. How's he doing? He did okay. Hit some, didn't make some. I would say he hit the square 50% of the time. You agree with? And these are short passes too. This drill today. These are red zone passes.
Right. It's from the middle of the field to the sideline. It's from the middle of the field to the back corner of the end zone.
Yeah.
From throwing from about the 10-yard line, dropping back to the 10-yard line, and they would take 3 reps, and then I think what was happening too, they'd drop back. Somebody would swipe at them with a bag.
Simulate a pass rush.
They'd have to avoid the pass rush, step up, and then Ken Dorsey would tell them which net to throw it at, and they would have to make that snap decision and then snap throw. And it was intriguing to watch, because once in a while all 3 of them would throw one and it wasn't even close, and then once in a while they'd make a quick throw and it would be money.
Yeah.
So it's
Josh was the best of the 3. Agree?
Yeah, I think
Barkley
so.
had a couple of good moments.
Sure, Barkley did. Barkley throws the fade really well.
Yep.
But the thing about Barkley is he doesn't have the big gun that Tyree Jackson and Josh Allen do. He always has to throw with that anticipation. He always has to know where to go with the football a little bit before anybody else, because his arm's not going to overcome a bad decision. So he throws those fades, and he's a very accurate passer as well. That's kind of his game, and it shows in those drills.
And it stands out compared to Josh, who's got a rifle. I mean, he just boom.
Right. The arm strength certainly stands out.
And Tyree struggled in these drills. I noticed this during the spring too. I thought he struggled trying to hit the squares, the targets in this accuracy drill. You agree?
Yeah, he flails a little bit, but his arm strength is more like Josh. I mean, he's the same kind of guy, big, tall, rangy athlete with a big arm.